Okay, so we're gonna break down two basic warm-ups, an upper, a lower day. We're gonna add in torso, core work at the same time with a mix of both. We're gonna work in different planes of motion. More or less what that means is twisting, transverse plane, forward to backwards, sagittal, and side to side frontal plane. So making sure we have all those encompassing. If you want to add in Z-axis or like bounding work, you can do that too. Just make sure you're not moving into any area of sharp pain specifically. Now, as we go through a lot of this, when you first start off, you want to feel a good muscle burn or a strong muscle burn each set back off. That might be 10, 12 reps, that might be 20, 25. Ideally, we want to start higher reps first, feeling the muscle tension with less resistance, less weight, but you can work in different planes of motion. Okay, so when we first start off, workspaces, if we're starting upper body, what body parts are we using? What joints are we using? We're using a mixture of lower back, core, lumbar, thoracic, neck, workspaces, so the biggest circles you possibly can. Slower, I'm just going a little faster. With the thoracic workspace, you would want to first by doing a little crunch, twist as much as you can, extend back, and come back around. Same thing, vice versa. Twist as much as you can, extend backwards, drop the shoulder blades down, and twist all the way through. And then lumbar would be bending all the way as much as you can, coming up and over the ridge of the pelvis, extending backwards, making sure when you extend back, we're not moving into sharp pain, both directions, about 2 to 3 times. Now, what else are we using? We're using shoulder. So you would want to go through the biggest shoulder workspaces we possibly can, both directions, not just one way. Especially work on extension, then to untwist, okay? Both shoulders, 2 to 3 times, going slowly. And then we want to add scapular workspace. So whether arms in front of you, like shoulder circles or shoulder shrugs, or arm beside you, okay? Then add in elbow workspace as well, and wrists, both directions, okay? As we get that into the warm-up, you would ideally want to do whatever main area we're working, whether it's chest press, pulls, what is the main tissues involved, and you would want to move the workspaces, those joints, after the rep, which I'll go over that with you in a sec, or set. So starting off with, to encompass the whole body, there's a lot more specifics that you can go to. There's variations I'll go through as well. For chest press, you can do this standing, you can do this laying on your back face up. You can do this a bunch of different ways. So for starters, if as you go through, you would add in banded. It could be a cable that you have a little arm attachment attached to a machine, and the cable allows you to come back and forth against resistance. Again, lighter resistance, something that you can move multiple times, but again, you'd want to feel good muscle burn. So as you can see, I am varying the angles, so you're getting all areas of pec, chest, but again, we're just moving in sagittal plane, okay? If you want, we can also come out to in, which gets more of a frontal plane. So again, there's the variability. If you want to be very specific, watch bending of the elbow to about 90 degrees. If you go past that, you're going to feel more stretch, but it also has a higher chance of creating issues with the front portion of the shoulder, AC joint, tendinizes bicep, a mixture with pectoralis. So again, 90 degrees, back up as much as you possibly can, higher reps, okay? We can add in dumbbells. We want to do this laying on our back. Ideally, I like dumbbells better because it allows for stabilization of the spine and you can get a little twist. Now, if you think about your torso like a cylinder, anytime there's a cylinder type structure, if you're just moving in one plane, but we're pretty much neglecting the whole 45-degree angle in the front of you and the back of you on each side, there's a lot of potential that is missed. So as we're going to pushing movements, can we twist either our torso or we stabilize our torso and we can go a different direction with the twist especially under higher loads. But again, this is high rep, low weight, low resistance, low load. So again, take that with a grain of salt and consideration. So as we're getting into the press, whether you start down lower, arm placement, hand placement, arm placement, doesn't matter. You can change the angle as you come back and forth. Again, if you go tilting opposite direction, be careful of the front portion of your shoulder, lighter resistance, but again, that's working many different angles, many different tissues. If you want to go slower up or slower down and explode up, there's some variability. And again, that is pushing motions. Now, think about it in terms of pressing, or if you want to think about pushing, but overhead, okay? Same thing, you can switch the angles, coming down to about 90 degrees. If you go past that, you could lead to strain on the outside bone of chromium and force like a sloping downwards, which does bursitis, discomfort on the outside. So again, presses, you can use a machine, seated as well. Maybe change the angles up a little bit, especially, and this is where dumbbells come in place quite well, because you can have that variability. That way we can get stress and strain on the whole tissues, not just in a 90-degree fashion, okay? So we have overhead press, we have dumbbell press push, like chest press or bench press. And then we have pulls, okay? Usually push and pull movement works best one day, so that way you're not overdoing one area completely. Now, if you're working out 4 to 5 times a week, you may want to break it down to just a push day, just a pull day, but for this example, you'll see different ways we can go about it. The other part I want to add in with the push before we move on is if you're going bands and a cable, work on twisting across your body as you're going above and below, but making sure your core is contracted or you're aware of the twisting, because it adds in abdominal work, ab core work as you're working out the same way, okay? Now, pulls. You can do this a bunch of ways, whether it's bent over rows, whether it's banded rows. Doesn't matter as much. Again, higher reps, lower weight, there's variability. There's a bunch of different ways you can go about it. So let's say, for example, we're going bands or cables for that matter. You can break this up in a couple different ways. Start by either bringing your shoulder blade back, then elbow, then twist, or you can just go for the twist itself. Ideally, the first one's a little bit better mechanics, long-term structure-wise, but it's neither here nor there. So as we're pulling, we can add in tilting of the torso, both directions. Then that single arm, that way we get the twist of the torso, or if we want to stay just straight on with the band cable, just straight pulls, okay? Either to the eyes or to the chest. That way we can bleed out the upper back, but making sure when you're coming forward that the shoulder blades are rounding forward, and when you're coming back in, we're bringing the shoulder blades back. I just don't want you to hold and fixate the shoulder blades squeezing back together as you're moving your arms, okay? So what I mean by that is allow the band to take all your arms, shoulder blades, start by bringing your shoulder blades back, then pull, and then let it to relax forward. It's that little bit of movement which have a huge impact to break apart tension from the shoulder blade to the upper arm bone. Slight variation, but see where I'm going. Okay, so we know we can do bands, cables, standing. We can do pulls, just leaning over. There's machines that if you sit down and you pull that way, it's similar area groups, but with free weights, there's more variability for different ranges of motion. They'll stress different tissues. That's why I favor towards that more. So that is push, pull. Now we can add in functional kind of movements. This is in way of farmer carries. So For example, if we're holding weights, carrying weights, both sides of our body and we're walking, it's putting a lot of load on our structure system. So if you think about that, you don't want to do it too long because it can wear and tear on a lot of the discs throughout your spine, but for an exercise workout, maybe a couple times a week, you should be fine. For most people, that is. It's different carrying weight two hands versus one hand. Now, if you carry on one hand and you're walking, you're gonna notice stabilization on the other side of your body. Again, walking forwards, backwards, till you feel good muscle burn or slightly fatigued, relax, maybe switch opposite sides, continue on. Okay, the goal, about 2 to 3 sets after each type of like push, pull, going back through your workspaces, especially the biggest range of motion you possibly can. So you upload the information to your brain, thus so you can regain that range of motion, thus so you can increase more muscle adaptation, if we will. Sarcomerogenesis, tissue muscle growth will come in way of putting tension at the biggest range of motion possible. Thus, after you work out that tissue, you go through the biggest range of motion possible and put stretch throughout the whole joint. So we're our nervous system, we're getting end range contraction, and there's a lot of other endocrine factors that add into that as well. So the last thing we want to add in is neck. Usually the deep neck flexor hold can work incredibly well, whether it's laying on your back, but standing. Ideally laying on your back works best. But if you think about stress and neck problems, there's a lot of stuff that can happen from that. What we're going to start on is tucking your chin to your chest, lifting your head up a little bit off the table, making sure the chin is tucked the entire time. If the chin comes, relax, because then we start recruiting the muscles overlying instead of the deep structure. So chin tuck, head up. You probably will start feeling some shaky movements, potentially cramping. That's okay if you need to relax and get back into it. After each rep or set, depending on your preference, moving through the biggest range of motion possible, getting sharp, pain-free. Okay, we can add in neck retractions. So band, cable, attaching to the back of the head. Work on retraction. It looks funny and weird. Or holding on the band and adding in extension. So we're tilting back, or we're holding and relaxing. So it's like nodding. You can add in rotational work, tilting work. Be a little cautious with that. Ideally, for most people, you would want to check a provider, making sure it's safe to go into those movements. If so, awesome. Proceed moving forward from there. Again, muscle burn, 2 to 3 sets. Even if it's a couple reps for each set, you're going to be sitting just fine. Because all we need to do is send the signal from the brain to the tissues, thus so you can create that change from your body resources. Okay, so recap, upper body, we have push, whether it's dumbbells, whether it's cables, whether it's bands, standing, laying, push overhead, or press if we will. So we get the shoulders, again moving in many different directions, so you get all angles of the shoulder. We can add in twisting motions, whether it's pushing and or pulls, whether it's standing, whether it's bent over, again, doesn't matter, or machines for that matter. Deep neck flexor holds and or banded cable extensions. Again, you can go through all different movements, tilting, and then we went through farmer carries, so you're holding weight either on both sides or one side. Do you feel good muscle burn from there? So that is essentially targeting most tissues throughout the whole upper body, torso, spine. Some of this I'm neglecting forearms, like bicep, tricep work, but as you're going through pushes and pulls, you're gonna get some of that regardless. So if you want accessory work, holding on to light weight and going through what's known as elbow workspaces. So we're trying to twist out our palm as much as we possibly can, turn, and then come back around. Starting the same way, back, around, and then opening the palm facing down. So essentially it's a bicep curl, but we're trying to move to the biggest range of motion possible of the elbow joint. Okay, both sides. And then if you want to be more specific, we can add in circles of the wrists and or extensions, flexion extensions, okay? Side to sides. There's so many different variables and variations, but that gets the arms, the torso, the neck, and everything else pretty much core up from there. So we'll get into the lower body workout in the next one.